Hello students, just confirm once in the chat box. Am I audible to everyone? Okay students, so we will start now. As you know, we are going to conduct previous year coding questions asked for Accenture. Before starting content, Before starting with the actual content, I would like to give you the idea about how you should prepare for coding questions and what are the basic prerequisites. If you are very clear with the fundamentals of programming, whatever the language you prefer, then it will be very easy for you to crack the coding round. If not, then we are going to start with the Accenture specific masterclass from 13th of July with a very affordable price, that is $989 only. You can join the masterclass and you will be getting all the content related to the Accenture as well as the fundamental part. Whenever you are working on the coding questions, make sure that you are analyzing the question properly. Everything will be given in very detailed manner and it will be kind of a storytelling questions. So you have to identify the logic which is given in the problem statement and then try to develop the logical steps. Once your flow of logical steps is clear, then easily you can write down the code. Now we know that Accenture is going to ask 2 coding questions and you have to complete that within 45 minutes. So the level of difficulty of the questions will be medium level. And the basic fundamentals such as strings, arrays, functionalities, recursive functions, conditional statements, looping structures, all these are the basic fundamental concepts. If you are very clear, then easily you can crack these coding questions. So without wasting much time, we will start with the coding question. The question number 1. Read the statement carefully. The problem statement says that given 2 first names of 2 persons, please calculate name proximity score. And name proximity score is calculated as follows. They have provided us certain criteria for that. If a letter occurs in the same position in both names. See, this is very important criteria. We have to consider this because our conditional statements will be based on this criteria only. If a letter occurs in the same position in both the names, then the score will increment by 2. If a letter occurs in both the names but in different position, so one criteria is targeting the same position, one criteria is targeting the different positions, then the score will be incremented by 1. And the third criteria says that once a letter in a particular position is used already by any of the names, then it cannot be considered again. However, if the same letter occurs in another position, then it can be used. So if we develop the condition based on same position of the letter and different position of the letter, then we can cross check for the third criteria. Now, what are the input and output specifications? As we have to strictly follow the specifications provided. Input specification says the first line will contain the first name and the second line will contain the second name. Means two string inputs we have to accept. And the output is only an integer value which is showing the name proximity score. Means we have to calculate the proximity score based on the provided criteria, and that only we have to display. Now, sample test cases. First input Amitabh, second is Ajitabh, means two strings, and the output is 12. Now, how exactly this 12 is calculated? Now, if you elaborate this provided input, see, we have to consider the same characters. So in the string 1, first name is Amitabh and second one is Ajitabh. And the position of the character is more important, because as per the criteria, if the letter occurs in the same position, now see, compare these two, A and A, same position. So in this case, my score will increment by 2. Then M and J, no character match. So we will not consider the score calculation for this case. Then third character, I, same character as well as same position. So again, the score increment by 2. In the next case also same, again the score will be 2. For remaining 3 characters also, it is exactly matching. The same character occurs at the same position in both the names. So again, my score will be incremented by 2. Entire characters has been scanned, and according to the criteria, we got this score. You add this. So 2 plus 2 plus 2, all of them, 4, 6, 8, 10, and 12. And that is what the final output. Now you have to develop the logic in such a way that how we are going to compare the characters, and not only the characters, but we have to also consider their positions. So index, that will give me the position. In the next example, next test case, they have provided with first name Rian and second name is Nagesh. And here the output is 2. Now, if you see, the characters at the respective positions are not matching. If I'm comparing R, N, Y, A like that, then they are not matching. But the occurrence of the character. So here my second criteria comes. If a letter occurs in both the names, but in different positions. See, A has occurred here, but the position is different. Index position is different. So in that case, my score will be incremented by 1 only. So for these two cases, the score increment is 1. And N is also getting. So 1 plus 1, that will be final output 2. Once a letter in a particular position is used, say suppose I am using this particular position for A, because the question arises that there is double A in the first name. So how we will be tackling with that situation? So in that case, third criteria will come. Once a letter is particular position has been already used, we cannot consider it. And the next consideration will be there if the same letter occurs in another position, but there is only one A in the second name. So we will not consider that. Only first consideration and second for N. So that's why the output is 2, right? So this is what the explanation about the provided test cases. And now we have to develop the logic. Now, according to the logical steps, first we have to accept 2 strings, right? As per the given input specification. Once you accept the 2 strings, we will maintain a counter, which will be nothing but my proximity score. Maintain counter for proximity score. That is what we have to display at the end. Then third step will be perform a looping iterations, because we have to check every character which is present in the string. So loop will be there, and based on the length, we have to calculate. Now, what we should check inside this loop? See, once you analyze the question properly, the coding part will be very easy. Within 5 minutes, you can write down the code, and it will be not lengthy also. So inside the loop, we have to check that if the character which is present at a particular index, suppose A I am considering, if it is present in second string, that is B, means first criteria is checked. But we have to also check that only characters should not be same, their position should also be same. So nested, one more if condition, if the index is also matching, with the index which is present in the second string, which is matching with the index of first string. If this is also true, then my approximate score should be incremented by 2. So whatever the counter we have maintained, we will increment it by 2. Counter plus equals to 2. And suppose character is present, but the position is not same, then in the else block of nested if, my counter will only be increased by 1. That's it. So this loop will execute till the end of the list. All the characters will be checked, and at the end we will get the counter. That is what we have to print, because only an integer value we have to print. Got the point? This is how easy we can develop the logical steps. Now let us write down the code and cross-check it for the provided test cases. Now for this problem statement, for simple understanding, I will be using Python language. So let's write down the comment part first. Calculation of proximity score. This is my problem statement. As per the steps, first we have to accept the strings. Now we know in Python, whatever the input we will receive, that will be by default in the format of string. So no need to perform any conversion. Second string. So now A and B, these two entities are working on the string values, which is coming from the user input. After that, I have to maintain a counter. So initialize the counter value to 0. Then develop the for loop. So for I in range function, which will work on the length parameter of A till the condition check. Now inside the condition check, if the character which is present at the ith index of A, if it is present in B also, then nested condition of index position. So if I is equals to the index position for B, in which the same position is present. Means what we are doing here, we are checking the character as well as the index position, because that is given in the criteria. In that case, my counter should get increment by 2. And suppose the first if is true, but second if is not there, means not satisfied as per the case. In that case, my counter should get increment by 1. That's it. At the end, we have to print the value of my counter. See. Now let us execute the code and check for the provided test cases. See. Successfully executed. Now it is waiting for the first string. Now according to the provided test cases, my first string is Amitabh. Second string is Ajitabh. And expected output is 12. That is what we got. Now check it for the second input. Second input is Riyan and Nagesh. We got 2. That is what the expected case. Understood? This is how exactly we are dealing with the logic of the problem statement, and that is what we are implementing it. Now, once you see the code, you will get the idea that code looks very easy, but it is possible only because of the analysis that what we have done and finding out the solution based on the logical steps. Apart from that, if you see the concepts what I have used for writing down the code is also very simple. All the fundamental concepts I am using. Simple for loop iterations, if else conditions and all. Got it? Yes, whatever the language you prefer. It is not like why I'm choosing Python. I will be doing second statement in Java also. You can do it in any other language. Important thing is you should be able to understand the logic behind that problem statement. Same logic you can use. Got the point? Now, try to work on the each and every line which is provided in the code. First, we are accepting 2 strings as an input. and then we are calculating the proximity score. As per the provided three criterias, if a letter occurs in the same position in both the names, then the score will incremented by 2. That is what we have considered at line number 11 and 12. If a letter occurs in both the names but in different positions, then the score is incremented by 1. So that will be my else block. And once a letter in a particular position is used by any of the names, then it cannot be considered again. Now, as per the code, we are accepting two strings, that is A and B. Then initializing a counter variable to 0, which will be exact storing my proximity score, and that will be my final output. After that, inside the for loop, it is iterating over the characters which are present in A, and for every character, it is checking with the character present in B. And not only checking with the character, but also checking the same position. This is already given in the problem statement. There is no certain assumptions. Okay. So if the character is present in the string as well as it is present in the same position, then the score will be incremented by 2. Otherwise, incremented by 1. And at the end, we got the final score. And I have showcased you both the test cases also, which have been satisfied. Right? So this was easy. I hope everyone got the understanding of the problem statement. And this was exactly asked in the Accenture, right? Let's move on to the next problem statement. This is slightly in detail as compared to the first problem statement. So read it carefully and try to figure out the logic and the steps. Analysis is very important whenever you are dealing with the coding rounds. And I would always suggest that whatever the time is allocated to you, out of that 40% of time you should allocate for the analysis of the question. Everything is clearly mentioned. You just need to identify the logic behind it and then develop your steps. And when you compare it with the code, you will feel definitely that it is very easy. Yeah, most of the students are asking that I should perform the output of the first statement in Java. But that is what I am again saying, that if you are implementing the logic, it will be same with respect to the language. Only syntactical changes will occur. And I will do this one in Java, no problem. Just focus on the analysis. Now, second problem statement says that you are given two strings, X and Y, and each containing at most 1000 characters. You have to write a program that can determine whether the characters in the first string and it can be rearranged to form the second string. Means if you change the position, shuffling of the characters, if you do, is it possible that we got the second string after shuffling? That is what we have to check. And if it is possible, the output should be yes. And if it is not, then the output should be no. Very simple problem statement again. Now logic can be different. You can apply different cases, like you can perform the sorting parameters, then comparison, but make sure that you are writing it in a generalized mode. Input specification says that the first input will be string X, second input will be string Y, and output will be yes or no according to the provided criteria. So rearrangement we have to check, and we can form the second string after rearranging the characters. Then our output should be yes, otherwise no. Again, two test cases are provided to us. First input ZBK, and if I arrange them, I should get second input, that is ZKB. And we can see that it is possible. ZBK can be rearranged in such a way that we can generate ZKB also. That's why the output is yes. And in the second example test case, ABCD, that is the first input. Now, if I arrange this in different options, different combinations, is it going to provide me the exact second string, that is CDBB? Not possible, because character is getting repeated, right? So we should go with the provided thing in the problem statement only. And that's why the output for the second test case should be no. Now tell me, what will be the logic? How you are going to develop this particular case? Whatever comes to your mind. So we know that there are 26 alphabets. So if I maintain an array of all the alphabets in which I will calculate the frequency count of every character. This might be one of the logic, okay? I'm trying to keep it very simple. So whatever the strings we will receive from the user input, X and Y, we will maintain two integer arrays which will have the frequency count of X and Y, and the size of that array will be 26, so that we can also work on the less memory occupation. Once the frequency of every character is been calculated, then we will iterate over the array, and we know that there is a method called as 2char array in Java. And then we will increment the corresponding frequency. This will count the frequency of every character in first string. Same we have to do for the second string also. After that, once we get the frequencies of first and second, we will compare the frequencies of characters which are present in X and characters which are present in Y. If the frequency is differing for any character, it means that the character in X cannot be rearranged to form the second string, that is Y string. And in that case, my output should be no. And if my loop is iterating without any differences, means we have the possibility of rearrangement of the characters, then the output should be yes. Got the point? This is how we can do with the rearrangement part. So first, write down the logical steps. First step, take a function. Inside the function, develop two arrays which will maintain frequency count. Frequency count of X and Y, both the strings. Now it is already given with the name, now, so we will follow the same. After the count of frequency is been maintained, we have to calculate that count. Now there is a simple logic based on the ASCII case. We can use the for each loop, and one by one character we can check, and we can maintain the count with the help of post increment. Once the frequency of characters which are present in X and characters which are present in Y is been calculated, then we have to check if the character in X can be rearranged. Check if the character in X can be rearranged to form the same string which is present in Y. This is already given in the problem statement. Now, how you are going to check this? Again, we have to iterate over the frequency count array. Again, from 0 to 26. If the frequency which is present in X is not equals to the frequency which is present in Y, means rearrangement is not possible, we can print no. And if the loop is totally done, iterations are totally done on the frequency array, and still we didn't found any differences, then we can print yes. This will be the logic inside my function. Now in the second step, my main driver code. Driver code will be easy. We have to just accept the input according to the given specifications. No extra messages, greeting messages, enter the string, like such kind of messages are not allowed. If it is not given in the problem statement, exactly follow the specifications. Now in the driver code, use the scanner class to accept the input. How many inputs we have to accept? Two strings input, right? So first one will be string X and second input will be string Y. After that, my function is going to return the result in the format of string, yes, no, right? So maintain a string variable, result variable, suppose result is equals to function call with two parameters of string, that is x and y. And then we can just display this result. That will be my last step, display result. This is what I am expecting. After doing the analysis of the code, you should be able to develop such kind of step in detail. And by practicing, it will come. So that your logic is clear now, you will not stuck in between while writing down the code, and it will be very easy to complete the case. Most of the students, what happened, they start writing down the code directly and they stuck in between. They are clear with the fundamentals, they are aware about the programming logic also, but the logical steps are not clear as per the problem statement. So follow the approach. First, analyze the code properly, problem statement properly, then write down the logical steps, what logic you can apply. That might be different, but check it for the generalized case, and it should satisfy the provided test cases. That is our main agenda. Okay. Now let us execute the code based on these particular steps. So the problem statement is for string permutations. First, we will complete the driver code, and then we will come back to the main function. Okay. So necessary imports. So name of the function is rearrange, and I am expecting that this function should accept two strings, that is x and y. Okay, and we will write down the body of the function once we finish the driver code. Now, as discussed, we have to first create the scanner class object. Now, no extra messages, so I will directly accept the string, first string in X. Now we know the functionality for string will be next line. Similarly, accept the second string also. Now, after accepting both the inputs, we have to develop a result variable, which will store my final output. That is in the format of yes and no. And this should call my function with the name rearrange, which will accept two string input as parameters, which is already in x and y respectively. So function is going to return a string that will be assigned to result variable, and then we can just print it. Now my driver code is done. Moving to the main functionality. Now, as discussed, first we have to develop the array, frequency arrays. So integer, frequency for x. Here you can give the size 26, which will be optimization part. And slowly you will learn about the optimization also. Now our first task is count the frequency of characters in X. Whatever is there in X, we have already passed it for the variable. So I will use for each character which is present will be transferred to C, which is coming from X. Now there is a method, two character array. Those who are working in Java, they are aware about this functionality. That is what I am saying. If your fundamentals are clear, it will be easy for you to figure out which method will be best suitable. And we have to include that frequency in my X. This is the important task. How you will calculate? Because my character array functionality will give me the character. One by one, it will get stored in C, right? So if I use the ASCII logic, it will go like this. And at every time, it should be post increment. For every character, it will get stored. After counting the frequency of character in X, similar kind of functionality you have to do for second also. Then we can have the comparison from both the arrays, right? So same code for our frequency of characters in Y. So this is going to provide me the frequency of every character. Now we have the main loop where we are going to check if the character is present in X can be rearranged to form the string Y. So I will require a loop which will start from 0 to less than 26, one by one. And the condition will be if the frequency value which is present in X, which is an array now, so at index position I, is not equals to, you can develop the logic of equals to here and you can print yes and otherwise no, with the frequency value of Y at index position I. If this is gonna be true, means there are differences and we are going to return no, but that will be a string and my function is returning string parameter. So at the end of this loop, we will check for the differences. If that is not happening, it means we can rearrange the same string based on the first one. So we will return yes. Now here also yes and no. They have mentioned in the problem statement that it is in small case, lowercase letters. Everything is in lowercase now. So I am developing the logic in that way. So no and yes, both will be written in the same format. Exactly, you have to match the input and output specifications every time. Make sure. And this will be my driver code. This is already I have explained how to accept the input and how to pass the control. So from line number 34, my control will be passed to the function with two strings X and Y. And inside the function, I am first maintaining two frequency arrays. One by one, the frequency of every character will be calculated. And then the differences will be checked in line number 21, 22, 23. Based on the differences, either I will return no and yes. Okay. Now let's execute this and check for the provided test cases. Yeah, it is working fine. What is the input? ZBK and ZKB. ZBK, ZKB. And the output is yes. Means my first test case is working fine. Now what about the second one? ABCD and CDBB. ABCD, CDBB. No. Both the test cases are working fine, right? Now, if you focus on the code, each and every line, what exactly we are doing here? As mentioned, first we have taken a function called as rearrange. This function is going to accept two strings, X and Y. The code is in front of you. And this is going to return a string, which will be either yes or no, which is indicating that if the characters can be rearranged, so it is yes, otherwise no. Now the two integer arrays, line number 10 and line number 11, frequency value for X and frequency value for Y. 26 lowercase alphabets initialized to store the frequency of every character. After that, we are iterating to check every character which is present in string X using the method toChar array and increment the corresponding frequency in the frequency array. Similarly, we are doing it in line number 17 and 18 for second string also. After that, line number 21 and 22 is for comparing the frequencies of character present in X and Y. So that's why the condition is if frequency of X at particular index I is not equals to the same index which is present in Y, means it cannot be rearranged. So it is no. Otherwise, yes. So at the end, the method is going to return the value either yes or no, which is string, and it will get transferred to line number 34 result variable, and that is what we are printing. Now, if you see, nothing extravagant we have used in the code, simple functionalities, array you are familiar with, for loop you are familiar with, ASCII functionality, then basic functionality of two-character array method, and then the driver code with the scanner class object. This is how you have to deal with the provided case. So I hope the functionality is clear to everyone. Each and every step is clear. So this is how the problem statements for Accenture coding you can solve. Both the test cases which were provided are satisfied for both the problem statements. Yes, Rashid, you can do that also. If you are targeting the length of the strings initially and then working on the comparison. So yes, that is also one of the logic. And I have already mentioned that logic can be different. I am not saying that you should always go with this. This is what the simplest way I have identified that we can perform easy. So it is not like you should go with the same part or similar kind of logic can only provide you the solution. That can be different also. But whatever the logic you are implementing here, and I'm using say Java language right now, so you can apply the same logic with other programming languages also. That will work. Only the syntactical and certain functionality will change. So continue with the same programming language, whatever you are working with, and try to figure out the same logic can be implemented or not. So make a task, whatever the both problem statements we have covered, try to implement it in that particular language also. Got the point? So that's it for the today's session, guys. Thank you for attending the session, and I hope it was fruitful to you. And if you want more such contents regarding to the Accenture, do join our masterclass specifically for Accenture. We are starting from 13th of July. Thank you.